Welcome back on Radio Rocketman. With me, as always, the great, the one, the inimitable Luigi. Hello, Luigi. How are you?
I returneth victorious, George, from the lands of Asia.
He returns. Yeah, God.
I've been.
Explain to us.
We had some vacations in Asia. It was perfect. We're back with refilled batteries and we're ready to go to analyze the geopolitical landscape.
Yeah, and we have a lot of news, a lot of bad news, but we thought we'll start with the good news because you deserve it, people.
Best of news.
What have we got?
Arguably one of the biggest killers of the last century has this glorious article.
Yeah, I was gonna start with the Guardian here article, but it was such a good one. Notice the details.
So Henry Kissinger, war criminal, beloved by America's ruling class, finally dies. Rolling Stone magazine. This guy has balls. And he's calling a spade because in any civilized society, Henry Kissinger would have been tried for war crimes.
Excuse me, are you talking about a towering diplomat, a Nobel Prize? It was the literature Nobel. He wrote a shitty poem, Luigi.
It was actually the Nobel Peace Prize because
it's the one that doesn't count. Yes, go on.
So they give it to everyone, but like we gave a mass murderer someone that either ordered the killing of thousands of people, like hundreds of thousands of people,
condoned it,
or enabled it by
in every continent. Every continent, he's well traveled.
In a nutshell, this guy is responsible for half of Latin America being destroyed, some of more, like a good chunk of Asia, and several other places. And he managed to do all of that in what, like 10 years? Maybe less.
And another one down, and another one down. Another one bites the dust. So you too. Another one bites the dust.
Sayonara, Henry.
Sayonara, Henry.
Rest in pieces. No, pieces is an understatement. Rest in smithereens.
Luigi. I've got a little bit of his war crimes, a little bit of a history of his war crimes. He helped sabotage the elections with the North Vietnamese. 1969 orchestrated the carpet bombing of Cambodia, which was a neutral country, not even at war, which resulted in the killing of up to 500,000 people without consulting Congress or declaring war. He gave U.S. acquiescence in the 1971 slaughter of 300,000 Bengalis, what was then East Pakistan. 1973, one of the things he's most famous for, he helped orchestrate a coup against the democratically elected president of Chile, Allende, installing a military dictator, the infamous Pinochet. It was over fucking ownership of mines. It was over raw materials and fucking mining companies. Allende wanted to nationalize the profits. And in 1976, gave the green light to a military junta that had taken over Argentina, get rid of its left opposition, telling it, if there are things that have to be done, do them quickly. It is there's a lot of shit he's been responsible for. He's also being accredited with mending Chinese ties.
Relations with China. Yeah, well,
what good did it do? Are my thoughts on that. I mean, what good did it do? Honestly, we're 50 years out from that decision, but let's say even 30 years out from it in the 2000s, weren't that the point where people were getting fucking anxious about China's might and the increasing the economic power of China? Well, that was basically preceded that was Henry, exactly. That was Henry, with, of course, the green light from every industrialist, etc. in the United States.
I'll do you one better. Mao was a good fan of Henry's. Let that sink in. Maybe strength, no strength when it sees it, and by that I mean.
And honestly, Luigi, those are methods. You asked me about what is considered his greatest achievement, which is building the bridge to China. Even in last July, he secretly flew to China. At the invitation of Xi, the Chinese love him, as the Chinese president made the first step towards improving relations with Washington. That was before the meeting he had with Biden. I mean, I'm not going to comment on the China. I'm not doubting that the Chinese are fond of Henry because obviously Henry is responsible for that. It's one of the greatest relationships they've got vis-a-vis the United States. I'm not criticizing that, but if you were to ask me in terms of the geopolitical ramifications of mending ties with China since the end of the 70s, I don't think it worked out well. I mean, ask the Republicans how well that worked out, right?
It's going in the complete opposite direction right now. What, by the way, just for the audience as well, the list of countries we've mentioned, you can put Argentina on
There's a
that
lot
list
of them. There was a very small summary. There's going to be thousands of videos of how much Henry is responsible for.
We've touched on conflicts where Henry was directly responsible. Yes. We haven't touched on, he armed that rebel group and
he was arming shit up the wazoo anywhere he could to destroy communism.
I'll try to summarize it as follows. Like Henry's doctrine, Henry Kissinger's operating doctrine was, is there a 2% chance that country falls under Soviet influence? If there is a 2% chance, arm the fascists or the far right wingers in that country and let's coup them. And he did in a lot of places. Look, honestly, if you take Hitler, Stalin, and Mao out of the equation of mass murderers of the last century.
When he was a kid, he escaped Hitler, by the way, Henry.
Yeah.
Interesting to note, right?
Yeah.
The paths we take and where they lead us.
But like, if you exclude those three mass murderers, like from the
top three, the triad,
the troika of
nice,
evil,
very European,
very European indeed. But
but we do not learn from our European histories.
Henry would have to be number 4 in the list of most people murdered under his watch, in a sense, or massacred is a better word.
And he has a big intrigue. Even though he was fairly short, he wasn't that short, but whatever. Even in the short span of time, he has been really into the mechanics of how U.S. foreign policy operates in the nexus of the beast. He has directed American foreign policy to a very bad direction, and I think we're still reaping what Henry has sown through all those decades of Sorry, Luigi, go on.
No. I was gonna say that, like, even if you take out the number of people that were killed directly, if you take into account the destabilizing influence
over the decades as well.
Exactly.
And the blueprint that he has provided for foreign policy ever since from the United States. This person, they have licked his testicles up to and including when he was 100 years old.
To Biden's credit, I think he's the only president that didn't call him into the White House for advice.
Apparently, Biden says they disagree a lot on issues. I don't know. Beyond that, everybody has licked his testicles, as far as I know.
Yeah, he's considered the titan of foreign policy.
Which is so wrong. And I mean, this guy, people, is responsible for 50% of the unfavorable opinion that people have outside the United States about the United States. Would that be fair? About 50% he's responsible for it. Why did you massacre Cambodia?
It was too close to Vietnam.
The danger of spillover. Jesus Christ. I mean, honestly, all in all, good news. Is that the conclusion?
Once you're in the business of carpet bombing, and I think we mentioned it off air, he dropped the equivalent of 5 Hiroshima bombs on Cambodia.
A neutral nation. I was only participating in that. It was just next to the one they were worried
with no congressional approval. I know nothing. I don't know.
I mean, he was in the nexus of this foreign policy apparatus at one of its worst moments in history, right? With Nixon. You've heard about Nixon.
Tricky dick.
The precursor to Trump. I mean, almost got indicted as well.
It's honestly so ironic that nobody can see that the mass murderer is being celebrated. And I mean, there's, as we speak, there's tons of fun articles out there. Like,
it's disgusting.
You will be missed.
The best we got apart from some publications, obviously, respect.
Respect,
I mean,
heavy
Joe.
respect.
I mean, the
The
best we
Rolling
got
Stone.
from politicians in the United States was Joe Biden. It was like he praised his fierce intellect and profound strategic focus, while adding that they often strongly disagree. This is wrong, Joe. We need more gumption than this. We need more. We need more, Joe. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I haven't heard what AOC and the rest of the squad said. I imagine it's better than this, but regardless, this is not good, not good enough.
This is weak. Let's categorize it. as it is.
Mediocre.
Look, I mean, a happy day for the progression of humanity.
He
Yes.
still lived to be 100.
Yeah, he lived to be 100.
And that's why words matter, and that's why this is such a good headline.
Yeah. I was reading another article and it said that there's a Cuban saying that no evil lasts 100 years. And Henry
now they gotta
Kissinger
change
really,
it. Yeah. They
yeah.
gotta change it now.
Even,
move on,
even
Luigi.
with that, he's still like Henry's still giving them the middle finger. Yeah, let's move on.
Let's move on. Another one bites the duster, and let's move on. Let's move on to worse news, far worse news. Let's go through the new fascists, Luigi.
A wave of fascism is sweeping through the globe.
It's washing over us quickly, leaving us confused.
But you know what? Like it's weird fascism. It's like fascism light, or
it was always weird.
Alt-fascism.
I think it was always weird, and we shouldn't let the weirdness confuse us, because the Fash is back in town. Let's start with
the old band is coming back together.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And then let's start with this dude who is wow, he's something else. Javier Milei. He looks like
shit lips.
He looks like, I don't know, an alcoholic, degenerate Wolverine. I'm not certain what the fuck this is. But
he looks like his parents, like if you watch a video of his,
he looks like his parents made a mistake. That's That's what Javier looks like. Parents of Javier, there was a mistake. You didn't rectify it, and now we will all suffer.
Your DNA failed us.
Yeah, he has vowed to take a chainsaw.
A volatile far-right libertarian. That description is all you need to know.
I've heard he's very, very insane, but he won, Luigi.
Watching him is like you've gone to an AC/DC concert. He's all over the place. Yeah. Sorry for the interruption.
No. He's secured 55% of the vote, which is a lot, which is quite a lot. He wants to make. I want to ask you a few things that he wants to do. I don't know if he's able to do it. I don't think he is at this point, because he's in the parliament. He holds very few seats. Theoretically, next elections he might get there. But I mean, during his campaign, he vowed to abolish the central, and he wants to peg the currency, Luigi.
Oh my God.
He wants to get rid of the peso. And is it the peso in Argentina?
I think so, yeah.
He wants to get rid of it and peg it to the dollar. Dollarize the economy.
Tell us what that's what literally destroyed Argentina in the first place. That's like, no, don't do that, Milei. No.
Well, he's very volatile. He's very volatile. He's a libertarian, which will not vote.
Volatile libertarian.
He's not even a libertarian. He's a volatile one. Oh my God. Argentina's fucked, right?
Okay. So a brief history of Argentina. Argentina is a very unique economy in the sense that, as we mentioned earlier, there were some coups happening in Argentina, driven by one Henry Kissinger.
Call back.
The generals and Pinochet basically come in, and they start borrowing money in US dollars. Fast forward a few years, and Argentina has always been a basket case, economically speaking. They default every few years.
For decades. And I mean, let's be
Generals,
honest, these far-right fascist nationalist people, they're not particularly good with the economy. Let's be honest.
no, no,
We
no, they're not.
have...
So wait. Generals come in. Generals take on a lot of debt denominated in US dollars.
They
Then
usually make the
Argentina.
rich parties abroad that help them get installed in power in the first place. They usually just make those people richer. That's usually their function in these situations.
All right. So Argentina got here by borrowing in US dollars and then basically having to default on that, but being unable to default because once you default, your currency goes to shit and it becomes harder to pay debt in a foreign currency.
Fucking Moody's comes in and rates you junk or something, and then you get fucked.
So, like,
And
that's
you can
what
understand. I want to know. Yeah, but too much time has passed, and they've forgotten why they got to the shits in the first place. And you have to understand that 40% of their 45 million citizens are in poverty, with inflation more than 140%.
So that's the problem, right? So the problem the country faces is that they've chronically suffered from a lot of inflation, especially because the government started to print money after it was unable to pay a lot of those US dollar debts. And it's been an inflationary spiral ever since. Now, the way you break an inflationary spiral, and it's very ugly, but like you almost have to do it. And that's why we have the central banks, is by raising interest rates sufficiently high to slow down the economy, essentially, and bring inflation down. Now, Milei says he wants to peg to the dollar.
And abolish the central bank.
And abolish the central bank.
No interest rates rising.
Brother, individually, any one of these policies would be catastrophic. Combining them
makes you a volatile
libertarian. and I'm seriously talking economic, like he's not gonna do that. He couldn't do that.
Yeah, it's gonna nuke the country, right?
Exactly.
Economically speaking. The former US president said that the whole world is very proud, and he will make Argentina great again, Luigi, so take that. Yeah. Elon said prosperity is like this shit is insane, Luigi.
My analogy,
their minds.
My technical analogy, if Milei manages to abolish the central bank and peg it to the dollar, would be if, like, imagine being in Gaza, economically speaking, like you get shot all day and bombed and whatever else. And then imagine I take you to Hiroshima right after the bombs drop. That would be my economic equivalent.
Yeah, excellent analogy. So, I mean, it can always get worse.
And by the way, the reason he can't do it, he can't peg to the dollar because the only way you peg to a currency is by having foreign currency reserves
of that currency, right?
Of that currency and of other currencies, so you can sell on the open market and basically maintain the peg. I just checked, so I'm looking at an older Reuters article dated 7th of July. Argentina has negative net foreign currency reserves of 4.5 to 7 billion analysts. So you basically can't do it. It's physically impossible, like mechanically impossible to peg your currency to the dollar with that.
Thank you for explaining this about his illustrious fucking economic plans. I can see why. I mean, it's sad, but I mean, 40% of your country in poverty. I can see how the people are just like, fuck it, enough is enough. I mean, there's a lot of Argentines voted knowingly against their economic interest because they recognize that the status quo is catastrophic, and there was no reason to believe that the current finance minister could plausibly be the answer. It's a huge gamble, but not a completely rational one. But as you said, it's just people not being, unfortunately, they get worn down and they're not being creative enough insofar as how much worse can this get. The analogy was perfect. It's like going from being a concentration camp inmate in Gaza to being underneath a Hiroshima bomb.
There's just no winning. There's a quote. There's a good quote in the article. Go down a little bit.
Yeah.
It said the real risk is that Argentina melts down in his attempt to radically transform the economy that would
Yeah.
look like massive social unrest, national strikes by unions, potential political violence, and stresses against the democratic institutions. That's a pretty dark scenario if, in fact, he pursues aggressively his maximalist vision.
No. If he pursues aggressively, he's what was it? Volatile libertarian.
Volatile libertarian politics.
And I want to say
Reforms.
We discussed the serious aspect, which are of course not serious at all, but we discussed the serious aspect of his program. And let's look a little bit into this Wolverine/Trump who has been elected in Argentina. I just want to note that the great Lula said that democracy is the voice of the people and must be respected. Lula. So let's look into what the people elected here. And he looks like Wolverine. He acts like Wolverine. Excellent first statement. This guy, he's adorable. Doesn't look adorable, but whatever. We'll skip that.
An AC/DC band member.
No.
Without the cap, literally.
A cover band, of course. He was a lead singer of a Rolling Stones cover band.
I mean, you can see it in his movements. Yeah.
We know about his ejaculation habits. Each man has his own dynamic. In my particular case, I ejaculate every 3 months. So I don't know how far this will get us, but we know how often this marriage. He looks like he may need to ejaculate more.
That explains some of the volatility.
Exactly. I mean, we're already breaking the cipher, right? Ejaculate more.
Yeah. Sexual frustration, tick.
He's a household name. He was a fucking TV star, TV shows. That we were getting a lot of them, Luigi. Desperate.
Fake celebrities for presidents.
Yeah, basically.
I'm looking at you, Zelensky.
Whoa!
Oh, goddamn. And we made Ukraine cool again, huh? Because nobody's discussing it anymore.
Shots fired, Luigi. Oh my god. On the campaign trail. I thought about Donny Boy. I'm not gonna
I
lie.
was thinking about Donny Boy too. That's the obvious one.
The facts
Donny
are
Boy.
there. Dollarize the economy. We talked about it. So yeah, we'll see. His biography mentions that some of those ideas may come from his 5 cloned dogs. Who are they?
Oh my god. Wow. He's named his dogs after economists.
Cloned
must be.
What
the hell?
Slightly alarming, I'm not gonna lie. Many believe he will be forced to moderate. Let's go into more of the serious stuff. Because his party, I mean, he's a complete novice in politics. He just came into the political scene, much like Trump did. And you said another one, I forgot. Milei's party.
Trump was a household name, though. That Trump was.
I don't know how much
in American culture.
I mean, let's not overstate that, though. I think because he wasn't The Apprentice. He was famous.
No. Let me put it this way: everybody knew who Trump was. Take The Rock, for example. It's that level of fame.
It's not that level to The Rock, Luigi. Not The Rock. But I mean, we're not going to argue about this. It's subjective. It's. I mean, he was a TV show star. No joke.
Yeah, he was a TV show star. Yeah.
He was an
nobody's The Rock. I mean,
yeah, exactly. That's what I wanted to get to. But his party controls just 38 of 257. That is very low.
Oh, good luck.
Exactly, and 8 of 72 in the Senate. So he's gonna need at least another election to implement his visionary libertarian ideas. Libertarians, guys, don't even poke them with a stick. Stay away.
Hold on. I sort of get what the article was saying, right? If I'm in poverty, I want to roll the dice as well. And I'm like, maybe this guy probably can't do what he says he wants, but he's going to stir up the old pot. Yeah.
Shake things up. Because of an absence of imagination, honestly, of how much things can get well. But honestly, I'm not gonna critique the people because they've honestly been worn down, especially in Argentina.
I'm sure, but like it can't
because we're gonna get to the other fascists as well. Maybe less explainable the other one, but still.
Let's go.
We'll get there.
Keep rolling.
I'll state it here. I don't want leftists or anyone politically analyze it, but especially leftists because they do get into that bad habit. I think I don't want them to idolize the people they want to help. It doesn't do good, but also don't denigrate. That was my point. Because yeah, I mean the Peronists in Argentina. They've been ruling on and off for decades now. So, I mean, they didn't want to elect their economy minister again.
Yeah.
Because the economy is shit.
After,
So they elected the fucking crazy guy, basically.
It's like, yeah.
The village idiot at this point.
which goes back to the point we've made time and time again on this show that ultimately it's economics that drives the politics. Like if the economics isn't the shitter, your politics is going to get really weird really fast. Like
this show, adheres to the materialistic perspective of analysis. It flows downstream like urine. The monies.
It's like I don't have enough to eat. Bring in the crazy guys. I mean,
do you want to go?
Yeah.
Luigi, do you want to go to the fascist in Europe that was elected, or do you want to go? Do you want to do any interlude with Israel? Let's do all the fascists in a row.
All the fascists.
Fair enough.
Yeah, by the way,
heroic pose.
Wait, we should mention before we close on the Argentina subject. I'm checking.
Let me go back. Yes.
Wait. From 2019 to today, the Argentinian peso has fallen by 90%.
It's bad. It's really bad economically. It's Turkey. It's Erdogan levels of bad.
No, it's way worse.
It's worse. Jesus, imagine doing worse than that guy. Jesus Christ.
Like way worse. Like,
imagine them doing worse than the guy who doesn't believe in interest rates. That's bad.
Yeah. So now we can move on.
Let's move on. You wanted to do the great boy in Europe,
another Trump wannabe, we could say.
I think before, I mean, he was there before Trump, not gonna lie. He had a shock election win, Luigi. And it was shocking when we discussed it last time. Although he was rising in the polls, the analysis was that it was gonna be neck and neck between three parties. Four parties, actually. One of those parties was his. In the end, he actually pulled a big win, I'm not going to lie. 37 seats in the 150-seat parliament. He got about 25% of the vote. Second place was the Green Left, the leftist alliance, headed by the former EU Commissioner, Franz Timmermans. He finished with 25 seats, so you can see quite a gap, 37-25. Then we have the center-right party, the ruling party currently, got 24 seats, pretty close, 25-24. And then we had the centrist dude, he was next. So he managed to get a lot, surprised a lot of people. I'm not going to say surprised us that much, but I mean, when you talk about the Netherlands, you think though that with the Netherlands that it's a fairly successful country, wealthy country, even egalitarian in a sense, not really, but compared to other places. But they've got problems. They've got problems as in everywhere. And
George, the analysis extends to almost every country.
Yes, and you've had
similar. A couple of bad decades
of growth, growing inequality, all the rest.
Stagnant wages, but rising rents, and life becoming unaffordable, and people are getting angrier.
And they elected quite a doozy.
Yeah.
He's been there a while.
Characterized as an Islamophobe in the past.
We're going to go through that. We're going to go through a lot of things in his own words that he has said about things in general, cultures and peoples. But he's been there a long while. He managed to slither for the first time in first place with quite a margin this time, unexpected. And just to clear things up, the fourth guy, the independent guy, got about 20 seats, I think. Yeah. The centrist party, center-right, whatever, he won 20 seats. It's going to be difficult. By the way, we have congratulations by the behemoth of liberal thought that is Viktor Orban. The winds of change are here.
Wow.
And
Well,
Rudd is going to remain in place until the new government is installed. But I want to warn people. By the way, you remember the whole nitrogen bullshit? They didn't do that well. They got about 9 seats or something, 8 seats. So, I mean, the election completely changed direction from being about nitrogen to being about immigration and other stuff. And other stuff. I'm not gonna lie. The main issues were housing, as we've discussed, and healthcare.
Okay.
But immigration as well. And immigration as well. That played a part definitely. But I mean, this is not going to be easy. This might take a long while until you have a government than the previous election. In the previous election, it took a record 271 days to hammer out a coalition agreement. That's how it works. The coalition parties here, they hammer out an agreement, and it doesn't matter anymore what was in their manifestos. What matters is in what is in the agreement that they have made.
Exactly. So he's gonna have to tone down his more
it's gonna be
more
very
extreme rhetoric.
We'll get into that.
He already has toned it down a little bit.
But I mean, a little bit. It was like they were asking things throughout the elections. That it was like, what do you think about this? I think that issue is not that big, but we're gonna put it on ice for a bit. That was the best he could do. But let's go through some of his statements first, and then we'll discuss the more serious stuff in terms of governing. Not that this is not serious. The guy is. I'm gonna ask you afterwards if you think he's better or worse than Trump. I think he's worse than Trump. Let's see what he has said on the Quran. The Quran is the main camp of a religion that aims to eliminate others. Ban that dreadful book, just as Mein Kampf is banned. On Islamic culture, Islam is not a religion, it's an ideology, the ideology of a wow culture. I can't even say this shit anymore.
The ideology of the ideology.
On Islamic dress, Luigi, a head rag tax, I would like to call it. He wants to tax people to wear it. On immigration, I ask, do you want in this city in the Netherlands more or fewer Moroccans? Wow. He asked this in a series of questions at a campaign meeting in The Hague. That his supporters obviously responded fewer. And he replied, then we will sort that out. He was prosecuted for that, which he claimed was politically motivated. This is, hate speech. Specifically singling out the Moroccans. It's just hate speech. This speech was eventually ruled as unlawful discrimination in terms of insulting a group. It resulted in a criminal record, but he was acquitted of inciting discrimination and given no other penalty. That's a bit of a problem. That's why he roams free. Wilders has not retracted or apologized for the speech. And on democracy, he said a bunch of shit as well. Very interesting stuff. That's why you said an Islamophobe, which I think he qualifies for. But he's also said shit about other stuff. But yeah, he's most famous for this, for his treatise on Islamic culture and affairs, I would say.
But the moment he was elected, he said something like, "I'm going to be a prime minister for all."
He said that,
people.
but then he said he wants a referendum for leaving the EU, and then he said a bunch of other shit.
He's never gonna get that because he has to get in coalitions. Look, he gives me a very similar vibe to Meloni in Italy, right? In the sense that, I'm basically far right, but the moment I come to power, I basically have to negotiate a little bit and I don't want to blow up my country. So I'm gonna be volatile, but in a measured way.
I'm not certain he's that kind of person. He will, if he wants to have a government, which is not even certain at this point, he will have to be, because there won't be a coalition. But I'm not certain he has it in him to be that kind of person. I'm not certain he's going to be like Meloni, as you said. But we'll have to see because if he actually wants to govern the country, as he has stated he wants to, he'll have to compromise. Yeah. Do I have anything else? I have a few other things on him. This is an opinion editorial that argues that the election, that the moment Rudd made the election about the specific issue of asylum seekers, which is why he blew up his coalition, Mark Rudd, he moved the focus over the controversy over farmers' use of nitrogen. We discussed it last time. And then which propelled the agrarian populist BBB party to a massive victory last year in the provincial elections. When he turned it back to immigration and the alleged native immigrant divide, the argument is that he lost the campaign there because, as Jean-Marie Le Pen, famous Le Pen, said almost half a century ago that people prefer the original over the copy.
Wow.
But I don't know, Luigi. I don't know how far this argument can go because maybe, but if the people are actually bothered about immigration, they will vote for an anti-immigration party, regardless of if you're talking about it as a party or not. But definitely, in a sense, I mean, you shouldn't overstate it. Because I do believe that people prefer the original over the copy.
Obviously, but
they discussed what you said that during his last campaign, that the Dutch media failed because they just started referring to him as Geert Wilders. How funny. But in reality, Wilders even emphasized that there was no change in program, but only one in strategy. So very interesting. It goes on that it's going to be very difficult for him to do anything. That it's going to be very difficult for him not to compromise. The VVD party, that's the ruling party at the moment, the ex-ruling party, the center-right party, Roots party, has said that they don't want to do a coalition with him. But I mean, they're negotiating at this point. I mean, whole swathes of the manifesto are acceptable. The Nexit referendum on leaving the EU, a return to the pre-euro currency and an end to the free movement of EU
That's
workers.
not happening, dude. That's not even on the ballot. Like, nobody's going to agree to that.
And no partner will accept an exit referendum or an end to the aid to Ukraine, while the VVD would not back a plan to return the retirement age back to 65, and the NSC would reject Wilders' pledge to cut development aid to zero. So there is a big policy difference.
So, again, if I'm Dutch and I really feel strongly about immigration, I'm thinking, okay, he can't do any of the other extreme stuff, like there's no Nexit referendum. The only area he might be effective on might be immigration. So, I don't know. Maybe it's a backlash in a sense.
There are other factors that could make the coalition talks difficult. He has no leverage. He's not in a particularly strong negotiating position. Because one thing that is important is that there's no alternative for him. The other three parties, the VVD, the NSC, could conceivably form an alliance with the leftist party, which came in second. He could never make that alliance. So you see, there's a lack of leverage there, that they're the only coalition partners available to him. So we'll have to see what happens, because this isn't clear cut.
So maybe he's not Prime Minister.
He might not even be. Yeah. That's why I said it before, that he might not even get there. And I wanted to end with this about this whole affair, because if the system, if the parliament, if the Dutch system was the British system, if it was a first past the post parliamentary system, he'd be in power right now. Whereas with a proportional representation system, a PR system, and a very PR system at that, it's not even certain he can rule yet. Which goes to show that you need more proportional representation in your fucking systems of governance. Of course.
First past the post is a stupid, archaic system.
He would be there because it's equivalent to Boris Johnson getting there with an absolute majority with 30% of the vote. He got 25% of the vote. But right now, it's not even certain he can make it there.
And Boris had super majorities.
Yeah. Whereas with this guy, it's not even certain.
And he does look like a Bond villain, so...
The best Bond villain.
All right, let's keep moving.
Should we finish up?
Yeah.
Let's finish up. I've got a little article about France.
Emmanuel.
About France and Germany's relationship. What is the love? Where has the
love story with
Olaf. It's a love story made in heaven. Look at them.
Emmanuel and Olaf.
Sharing some sandwich.
What is it? Yeah.
It's sandwich.
Do you like my baguette?
This is an opinion.
Olaf.
Olaf, what do you think of the baguette? He likes it, huh?
This guy likes it.
Should we? Let's go through it, because I just wanted to go through a few things. It's interesting, the relationship between these two, which is the most important relationship in the EU. It is the glue that holds things together. And I just want to note that Germany is just keeping on with the transatlantic thing. And this doubling down on the transatlantic ties at the expense at the expense of building a new European security architecture is unfathomable to Paris. And not just to Paris, but to me as well. It's just...
Yeah, to everyone. What the fuck? Build a European army
I,
already.
I want to
Don't rely on the
know.
Americans.
Yeah, I want to know what the actual German public thinks about it, and not the fucking elite politicians in charge in Germany. Because that, honestly, do you think, Luigi, that the German public wants to keep begging the Americans for a century to guarantee our security?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
doubt that.
and then having Trump come back in and being like, pay your 2%. 2% to NATO, you're not paying your 2%.
Dude, I mean, he hates Germans. Like, what the fuck is wrong with Germany on this? It is not only unfathomable to Paris, but to a lot of
To
people.
everyone, to everyone. And by the way, I have to tell you, like,
Yeah.
from at least, okay, this is completely what we call anecdotal, but from
Yeah.
speaking to a few Germans, yeah, everyone is for like closer
I'm
military
sure.
ties in
I'm
Europe.
sure. I'm sure that the German public is not just populated by cretins. So I'm just wondering how the politicians can get away with this shit, because they're doubling down on it, and it is evident that on the horizon Trump is waiting. So
Yeah.
I don't know what we're doing, but it goes through
You're
other
gonna
things.
pay 30%.
Yeah, do
I
you want to
made
hear
them
this?
pay.
I have to make them pay. They pay so little. Cheapskates. They're cheapskates. They make their fancy cars, Luigi, but they don't pay their dues. You want to hear that forever?
And then I told them you have to give your F-16 to Ukraine, but then you buy new ones from me.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing. Why would you be?
When he was acting like an arms merchant
Yeah,
with who was
I
it?
think-
It was the Saudis.
Yeah, it was the Saudis, but I think that were some of his best moves. Look at the fighter jet I sold them. Do you know how much it costs? Billions.
Do you know
With
how
a
many
B. Do you know how many they bought? 35. But this goes on, sorry. On the Eurozone, it goes on about the Eurozone. I mean, it has to be agreed, no further progress since Angela Merkel agreed with Macron that enabling the joint borrowing and recovery fund. Any agreement. There has been no agreement reforming fiscal rules, on a larger EU budget, or on expanding the EU's own resources. But
there's basically been no progress on all the
on all the critical issues.
Yeah,
And a few months
counts.
Ukraine, by the way, wants to get in immediately. I don't know what's happening with that. And a few months
they're at war, dude. I mean, they want. I don't know.
Definitely. Let me tell you about Scholz's vision of a grand bargain. He agreed to underwrite EU institutional reform before the next enlargement, and I think institutional reform for the EU is crucial before the next enlargement. Don't enlarge anymore unless you fix some things already happening there. But propose
the current structure is pretty bad. Let's face it.
Yeah, it's faulty. But it's a work in progress. Let's be positive. But proposed a quid pro quo that rested on France agreeing to allow majority voting on foreign policy and Germany agreeing to drop the national veto on tax policy. I think this is a very fair agreement. And I believe majority voting on foreign policy is important so that we get some fucking foreign policy. And Germany dropping the veto on tax policy is crucial. It has to be done immediately.
It's great. Yeah. The fact
Unfortunately, France's response has been rather ambiguous. So, I mean, Macron wasn't willing to go for it, which is a problem because I find it a perfectly fair idea.
Honestly, the fact that foreign policy decisions require unanimity is...
It's a problem.
It's a problem. I mean,
there's too many nations in it to have unanimity on it, and you get behemoths like Orban.
Or I don't know, dude. Like in theory, Malta can fucking veto a foreign policy decision of the EU. No, you can't do it with unanimity. France should let that go, and especially if the Germans are willing to give up
on the tax veto. Yeah.
Overall,
Germany fundamentally doubts whether behind Macron's messianic European speeches, Vive la France, there is any real willingness or capacity to compromise on France's national interests, given the French president's precarious domestic political situation. And it may not be... Yeah, it may not be precarious up to his own... I mean, he's going to effectively rule for 2 terms. It's decided. But I mean, after that, it's going to be... It's going to
I
be
mean,
interesting.
there's no charismatic young politician that can really challenge Le Pen. Mélenchon, I don't think he's ever gonna get there.
No way. No way.
But honestly, the compromise that Scholz has laid out is pretty decent.
Nothing has
And
happened on it.
yeah, Macron is gonna take it sooner or later. It's a good deal. He's a Goldman Sachs side. He knows a good deal when he sees one.
Nice. So that's that, Luigi. For
That is that. I've got a bonus track for you. You're gonna love this. Your favorite US lawmaker, George Santos.
has he been expelled?
He was indicted on charges of fraud, and now the House is trying to expel him, essentially.
Another honest man going down, Luigi.
No. George Santos has never seen an honest day in his life.
No country for honest men.
Yeah.
Let's end on that.
Yeah. Happy
Everyone.
times.
Happy
Yeah, I
times,
mean,
everyone. Maybe not so
dishonest
happy, but
politicians.
we'll persevere. It is the nature of life.
Dishonest politicians. being
Hard
expelled.
times
Yeah.
make I don't know. Hard times make dickheads. It is no.
Yeah. Ooh,
So watch the head of your dicks, people.
it's getting harder and harder. with all of the fascists who are electing around the world, it's
I think our
at least.
favorite. Which one did you prefer this time? Did you like Javier more, or did you like the radical libertarian or the Islamophobe? Which one do you prefer?
No, my favorite piece of news today was Henry's passing. Good fucking riddance. One less to worry about.
Sayonara, Henry. Auf Wiedersehen means until I see you again. So to you, good sir, I say goodbye.
Yeah, all of the news stories were pretty solid. I mean, the Argentinian Joker.
I have to say that I love the madman in Argentina more, because it's going to be more interesting with him.
We're going to have material for sure. And I also loved Lula's response. Democracy must be respected. The people have spoken.
It may not be nice words, but they have spoken, people.
Yeah. So until next time, stay tuned.
See you guys. Bye-bye.